your podcast, Films to Be Buried With, is a lovely, simple concept and is great. And it's great fun to do and it's great fun to listen to. And it seems like a really good fit for you. Is any of it a ball ache?
The admin of it, of course, is boring, and I guess it's always awkward asking people, isn't it? I don't know if you find it. I'm always embarrassed to ask people. My letters to ask people are so fucking pathetic and grovelly.
I love the idea that you write tangible, physical letters that you put in the post
in blood.
I mean, that would probably work. An actual letter.
I do them in blood with a wax seal. Please.
It is. It's a weird. You have to weirdly lower your status to ask people to be on to it.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Do you also get the converse happening? Do you get lots of people apply to be on the show?
Yes.
Some of whom you think, oh, not yet.
Yeah, and that's always awkward. And I don't know the answer to that. And also, do you know what else I've learned? You say the thing about movie stars. I'm very picky about who I have on because you must know this. Like, actors generally are, terrible people, terrible. Like, people who are, they're the worst, and
they are quite bad.
And so I aim to have people who I know are funny, or who can tell a story, or who are interesting or fascinating. If you I've made the mistake of, well, I'm not even going to say, but as in I have had people recommended to me where I go, no, I'm not going to use them because I know that's going to be bad. I know because also the joy of it and the beauty of it, I think, but it's the same with yours, I assume and hope, is it's the connection between the two of you. It's the fun you're having together that makes the show, hopefully, and having some. So if you, and that's the thing I love about it, and what's good and sometimes challenging is if I do it with someone that I've never met before, I don't know, it might take me 10 minutes to work out, I hate to use this phrase, but the game between us, as in what is, what I guess it's status, what are we playing here, what are we comfortable with, like how much fun can I have with you as the guest, like can I be cheeky with you, maybe not, I don't know that yet, do you know what I mean, like so that sort of is happening live on the podcast sometimes, and that's kind of interesting. And I've had people where it's taken maybe 20 minutes for me to get them, where I've thought for the first 20 minutes, I thought, fuck, this is hard work. I don't know. Yeah. They're quite tough. And then you find the key, and then it's lovely. I love all that. Yeah. Excellent. You have that. You must have that.
I have trained you well.
You have.
Without meaning to.
You really have, though. I've openly said it on the podcast. You're one of the biggest influences on it, for sure.
Oh, mate. Thank you. You won't come on ComCom.
And I've just realised you sort of half tricked me.
Yeah, you just realised that. That was the other open loop at the beginning. I wanted to get onto that so that I could explain what I've done here is I've given this a slightly different name by changing one letter in order to trick you to finally being on the fucking podcast.
Clever.
Because many years ago, and you are one of a small, I'm going to use the word coterie without knowing what it means.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You're one of a small.
Someone text Glenn Wool.
Tell us what coterie means. You are one of a small group of comedians who listens pretty religiously to the podcast and often texts me with comments and let's leave it at comments. Comments about various interviews, acts, what have you.
I've heard every single episode. There's only one that I gave up on.
Oh, there's no way we can identify it now, unless it's one of the 3 dead people.
No, they're not dead, and it was
okay. We're narrowing it down. This is how you get it. You softball first,
and it wasn't you. It wasn't you, by the way. It was that they were unbearable. But I did do 40 minutes of it, and I was like, do you know what? I don't want to get to heaven and God say any regrets, and I go, yeah, that I finished that ep of ComComPod.
I'm so pleased you think about the podcast in such mythological terms. I think that's very important. But so you're someone you listen to it a lot, and yet you never wanted to be on it, or you never you never flat refused. But I remember you said to me years ago, and it was part of when I thought I was sort of in the phase of thinking, oh, I've really got something here. You said, I don't want to be. Can you remember the reason you gave me?
Well, my reason, I think, is that that I don't want. You'd ask me if I'm happy, and I'd say yes, and then you'd ask me again, and then I'd burst into tears. And I don't think anyone needs that.
Although that's certainly the case, potentially the case. The reason you gave it at the time was you're really good at calling people on their shit, and I don't know what my shit is, and I don't think I want to be called on it. Which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, that's fair. As in, I think that's probably true. Is that you sometimes are like a mean bully, like sometimes with people, and you say like, well, you're a bit like this, and I worry you'd say something that I didn't know, and then I'd be incredibly self-conscious for the rest of my career and wouldn't be able to continue to do stand-up because I'd done fucking ComComPod and it ruined my life.
Why do you think that you're scared of that?
Here we go. I ain't falling for your shit. The next thing you're going to do is not say anything for ages, so I keep talking until I go, I guess my mum didn't love me enough, and I do it to perform for her, really, but I don't let her come to the gigs. I don't know what that says.
I will having this. Okay, so that's a fantastic example of. This is the biggest circle jerk. In fact, I don't think it is a jerk. It's both of us wanking me off. But what I would do, this is my interview technique for when this happens. That's a hard block. We've had a hard block from Goldstein. Leaving the question hanging in the air, I will now lead you up the garden path on a safer topic you're more comfortable with before suddenly referring back to the point I've made.
Go for it. No. What was the question? Why do I think it is that I don't want to do it? Or that I don't want to know?
You've pretty much answered it, but one of the things I find fascinating about you is the combination of like real brilliance. I think you're a brilliant stand-up comic. I remember doing not just your shows that I've seen many of your shows and I love them. I remember seeing, we both did a gig at the Harrison for Garrett Millerick. Do you remember the Harrison?
Yeah, of course.
It was a new material spot, and I think I'd just moved out of London. I think we'd just had my first child, and I'd not been long out of London, and I was going back into London to do a couple of gigs, and it was. I definitely feel it was. I was probably just post-parenthood and a bit wobbly-eyed.
Yeah.
And I turned up with some stuff that I thought was pretty hot shit, actually, and then I did it, and it was absolutely fine. And then you went on after me and just destroyed with stuff that you'd clearly only just written. It was so, and I remember, like, it really, I properly, and one of the great things about you and your comedy is that I love you too much to hate you, so I'm not jealous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was one of the,
that's the nicest thing you could say.
I think that's the purest thing in comedy.
Yeah,
is when you love someone so much that you're happy to see them do well. that rare feeling.
That's very nice, Stuart. Thank you.
But you are a brilliant comedian as well as a screenwriter and an actual movie star. We'll get on to. I mean, movies. Do you think? I mean, you obviously don't think of yourself as a movie star because you are the most humble man I've ever met. But you have written and starred in a movie.
Yes, that's true.
So if you starred in a movie, you are therefore a movie star, right?
If you're using language in that way, okay.
If you're using language, then I will have to accept that as the case.
If we are going to be doing this audio podcast using verbal words, okay.
So that you have this amazing humility. Like do you remember Felicity Ward's DJ set one year in the closing night of the Edinburgh Festival? God knows how long ago, 4 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember everyone took their tops off, right?
Yeah.
As soon as me or Parry, normally Parry shouts tops. It's normally me shouting it to try and make Parry shout it. Shouts tops off. Everyone takes their tops off. Fantastic. And it was the first time I'd noticed how incredibly built you are, right? Like you clearly lift weights, right? But you'd never know it. I don't mean to look at you, but you don't carry yourself like a man who lifts weights, right? Yeah. And you're just. Like, you didn't want to take your top off, but you had the best body in the room, but you were so humble, you're like, oh, I'm not going to take my top off. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. And you eventually did, because I'm a very persuasive man. So
what you took me to the toilet. Things escalated very quickly.
So what I'm interested in is your kind of, I think, is diffidence the right word? It's humility, and it's kind of like you're clearly brilliant at I'm not going to say you're brilliant at everything you do. You're brilliant at all the stuff you do that I've seen you do. You're an incredibly warm and engaging host of a podcast. You're a brilliant comic who's you're not just a bloke in a t-shirt. You may be wearing a t-shirt, but you're telling proper long stories about stuff that are populated with characters and thought and emotion. It's all weighted and written and funny as fuck. And movies and all the rest of it. And yet you're just... It's not that you are down to earth, but it's not that you're just down to earth. It's like you're incredibly humble. Now, is there a thing, do you have like a particular parent that kind of beat into you, you must always put other people first? I feel like your personality has already undergone a movie about self-discovery and you're the post-movie you?
I mean, you've done an incredible love bomb and I really appreciate it. And if you want me to cry, I'm close. I'm on the edge, you can. I don't think... okay, look. I don't know where it comes from, but I do know that I do not have arrogance. My default is, I'm sorry to be here. That's my
yes.
That's how I feel. So sorry. Do you mind if I come and And I don't. And that hasn't really changed. And I sometimes hear it's. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Go on.
No, I don't. I think it. I don't know. I think it comes. Well, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking maybe, like, my parents are lovely, very nice people. Maybe they didn't instill a sort of, you could do it. You're like, I don't know. Not that they said you couldn't. I'm sure they said you could, but I just think the whole thing's slightly embarrassing as well, isn't it? Everything, life, generally is slightly embarrassing. And so anything, so I work very hard, but don't, keep it on the down low. No one needs to, like everyone's working. I don't know. Maybe it was hanging out with actors for a bit before I did stand up, and thinking, fuck me, these people are the worst. I just knew that. I am so fucking lucky, and that is the reality of it as well, is that I work really, 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 really hard, but I also think I'm so lucky because I am doing all the things that I really wanted to do, and that is such a privilege and such a dream and all that stuff. And I also know that it isn't being a nurse or a doctor or it isn't, I'm not doing anything worthwhile, so the aim is if you're gonna fucking make stuff, make sure it's really fucking good, because you are so lucky to be doing this. You are so lucky. But also, once you've done it, you haven't been a nurse or a doctor, so fucking keep your mouth shut, son. Do you know what I mean? Like when you talk, when I hear actors in particular, I don't know why I'm having such a go at actors, but when you hear people talk about I had a real problem with The Revenant, which is a film where all the interviews were like, it was so hard, it was so cold, and I ate a bison and stuff. And you go, you were also paid 25 million and had models delivered to your hotel room every night, and it's really not that hard being you, Leonardo DiCaprio. And also, shut up. You've made as in, I always think it's interesting when you watch Singing in the Rain, which is the greatest film ever made.
Okay.
Gene Kelly doing Singing in the Rain. He had a cold. He performed Singing in the Rain with such joy. It was like 24 hours of non-stop rehearsal. His feet were bleeding, all sorts. He never said any of that. He doesn't go, oh, fucking hell. That was hard, man. I've worked so hard to do. He just goes, here's the thing, and it's joy. And he doesn't put, you, the audience, don't have to go, God, poor Gene Kelly. I I know he's been through a lot. You can just, here's the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I do what you mean. And I think I think though that example of singing in the rain is a sort of thing that one would use as kind of a totem afterwards, after you'd made that decision of like, okay, I am like this, that realization, if not a decision, I am like this, I want to be humble about my work. Then the singing in the rain example is something that, that's a shorthand way of describing it, but it wasn't singing in the rain that made you like that.
I know.
Maybe it was go on.
Well, I've just always look, I also think I know what you're doing, you piece of shit. Look, aren't all comedians, look, everyone's different, but is the well, no, fuck you. You're asking, where does this all come from? And
I just wonder why you're so nice, why you're so humble.
Listen, obviously I'm not as nice as you think, because you don't see me all the time, and sometimes I'm also a very angry person, but I keep it quiet. Keep that on the fucking down low. No one needs to know that.
I can believe that. I don't think I've ever seen you be angry, but I could believe that you. Why do you think you're? When you say you're a very angry person, do you think you're more angry than the next normal person?
This is such a stitch up. The point is, all right, here's what I have thought, because obviously I've thought about your fucking show, and if you ever tricked me onto it, which you now have, I can't believe this shit. The reason I do comedy, I believe, and the reason it's always been there, is because I always felt from birth, as far as I can remember, that I was on the outside of things looking in. And so it wasn't that I thought I was funny, although I'm sure on some level, hopefully I was, but it was that I remember being at school, being young, and just sort of sitting there thinking, this is fucking mad. We all just sit here and like listen to this tall person at the front, and we all just go along with this, and then people, and when I've done stand-up about this, but it took me a long time. I was quite a sort of old man child, like a miserable old man, and when we were like teenagers, and we just like, everyone would just get drunk and fight, and I'd think, this is so bleak. Is this it? Is this what we're meant to do now then? Is it? We just do this for a bit, and then what? And then we have, oh God, everything's so shit. And then one day I did ecstasy, and then everything changed. And then I was like, oh, I get it.